have a guest. It is Coach Kevin Duffy from Rotational Power Strength to talk about golf training, golf diet, and his journey through the world of training and into golf training over the last 13 years. Before we get to my discussion with Kevin, just a quick plug to please subscribe to this podcast wherever you are listening or watching it. They are on YouTube. If you would like to head over there and watch this podcast and watch my other podcasts, you can do that. I also have been making some 5 to 7 minute videos about different golf courses around the state, and those are all on YouTube as well. So you can subscribe there and get alerted anytime that a new video is posted. If you want everything in one nice little package at the end of every week, you should subscribe to my newsletter. My newsletter is found at baystategolf.beehiiv.com. Beehiiv is spelled BEEHIIV.com. This has everything, links to all of the stuff that I've done this week. And every week, it's a nice way for me to just put a bow on my week. And I always include some news and notes about what's been going on in amateur golf, professional golf in Massachusetts, whether it's mass golf events or New England PGA events, or a guy like Keegan Bradley getting named as Ryder Cup captain or being named to the President's Cup. So kind of just anything that may be going on in Massachusetts golf or adjacent to Massachusetts golf. I add a little bit in there as well. If you would like more than that, you can subscribe as a premium member. You could become a supporter or a founder, and those folks get access to an extra post a week. Premium subscribers also get access or the ability to write comments on posts. They get a discount in the store. And also right now, anyone who signs up will get a free desk calendar. Last year, I made one for 2024 with 12 pictures that I took over the course of the year at various golf courses. And I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to make more of them. And I'm going to give one to anyone who signs up as a premium member before October 1st. Will get a calendar included in their subscription as a little thank you gift from me for supporting what I'm doing and my work. So that's all I've got. Let's get to my discussion with Kevin Duffy. Kevin Duffy, welcome to the Bay State Golf Podcast. We realized before we hopped on, we have the exact same poster in the background. You're still in the process of moving, so it's on the floor. Mine was on the floor for a while until I finally hung it up. Welcome to the podcast, Kevin.
Yeah, a couple of Bay State guys having U.S. Open posters in the background of a podcast is probably not too uncommon.
Yep. Yeah, thanks for hopping on, and we'll talk about, you are kind of a golf trainer. Discovered you through some other publications and stuff that I've done. And I also know you are a trainer to the stars of mass golf in a lot of ways. And so I reached out, and this is kind of one of those times of year where I think people forget, or, training and that kind of thing will kick in like January, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like those New Year's resolutions, and people are right now focused on playing golf. So I actually thought this would be a great time to have you on, just because it should be front of mind almost at this time of year, or really any time of year. But I think we all kind of fall into the trap of winter, trying to get stronger to play golf. But it should really be any time. So I'd love to just hear from you. Like, how did you get into golf? How did you get into training? How, like, marrying those two things? Just a little bit about you.
Yeah, so you said, the name of your podcast, the Bay State reference, and my immediate reference goes to kind of what I always think about is like Bay State football camp. So generally, this is when I'm wrapping up football in, my high school days and going into the Bay State football camp, which is always held at Wayland High School.
Yeah.
So it's football season. Kickoff is tonight. And that's where I started my training. I was a football player for quite some time. My buddies constantly, I give them good invites to go play with me at nice courses, and they still give me a hard time that I was the big football meathead, and now I'm the guy with all the golf connections, despite the fact that they were on the golf team.
Yep.
So yeah, I grew up playing football. I went to college to study exercise science. I went to Southern Connecticut first, and then I transferred to Westfield State Division Two, Division Three to finish up. The linemen are much smaller and easier to deal with at Division Three. And after getting my exercise science degree, rather than go to, there's kind of like two or three different routes, right? You can go kind of down the clinical side, more towards like you're going to be in cardiac rehab, or you're going to be working in hospitals. There's the route of college athletics, which is where I went, or there's kind of like the PT and rehab. And I went towards college athletics, but I chose, rather than do a master's degree, I chose to learn by doing. So I did internship after internship after internship. And one of those internships led me to hockey. And I worked with Northeastern hockey for quite some time. And then a lot of hockey players in their off season play golf. So, I kind of was having some conversations with some hockey players, and rolled over when I was doing some private training in between the off seasons, working with local golfers and applying the same programming and having some awesome results. So I've been marrying between like my meathead days of, bench squat deadlift and the super injury prevention, let's just call it the golf rehab side of house, and seeing how we can make everything coincide. And I'm constantly adjusting. If you went through my spreadsheets from like when I was, 19 and 20 doing that to where I am now, I would definitely laugh at the old version, but the old version helped me get to the current status that we're in with I think you said the Stars of Massachusetts Golf. That's funny. Quite the niche. Hey, you know what? Trainer to the Stars of some sort. I'll take
Right.
it. I love my people.
So hockey to golf, obviously, that's interesting because there's a theory that like hockey players are good at golf because they have the summers off, right? I think that's like a kind of semi well-known Bobby Orr quote. Like they're just good because their sport takes place in the winter, so they have time in the summer to play. What's your is there kind of, as you've worked with hockey players and golfers, or golfers who are hockey players, or vice versa? What are the things
Yes.
that seem to connect those two sports?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say Bobby Orr is completely wrong. If you got time to work on your game, you're going to suck a little bit less than your buddies that don't have time to work on. But yeah, I would say the lower half strength and the lower body stability, allowing you to rotate and create force, is what is uncommon from some other sports, because you need to have lower body strength, you need to have lower body stability, and you're on one foot or one skate or a razor blade at a time. Translates well to my ability to create power and speed. So a lot of times when you either get somebody who's a different athletics background or no athletic background, and they don't have stability, they're going to create speed some other way because their brain is very powerful. If I tell my brain to create speed and I don't know that it's easier to do it with my lower half, I'm going to try to do it between like my shoulder, elbow, and wrist, and then we're in good luck. I mean, it's a hard way to control a club face. I already have enough trouble controlling the club face as it is. If I started to use my hands to create speed, then rather than use my legs to create speed, then I'd be in more trouble than I already am.
Yeah, that seems to be probably 98% of golfers, right? 99% of golfers who just are so used to using their upper body to either because they from other sports, or just that, like you said, their brain is just telling them that that's how to feel like you're moving the fastest, right? It's that kind of sensation of, this is where I have the most control and I can create the most speed.
Yeah, sitting behind some of the swing coaches that I've either sought out to sit behind them or had the pleasure of working with, just being a fly in the room in the back of a teaching bay, like some of the top guys, like the guys at Jupiter Hill or Mark Blackburn, or being able to follow the TPI tree is you notice that they're going to simplify things more than they're going to complicate things. They're going to tell you should be gravitating your power and your control by getting in the right positions rather than trying to fix something on the way up or on the way down. They want you to get to a position of comfort and power and be able to rip through it And then if we need to start fading it a little bit more or drawing it a little bit more, that's where they might get into some of the more niche-y things. But they want their golfer to feel comfortable, be able to be athletic, and rely on the skills that they have rather than just overly tinker, which is what some of us tend to do. I try to keep it as simple as possible in the weight room. I try to keep it as simple as possible when I'm giving my clients. I'm not a swing coach, but I can stand behind somebody and be like, dude, you're swaying way too much, and be able to give them information that'll help them fix that.
Yeah. So that to be a fly on the wall in those rooms with those instructors, and then to come back to Acton and your gym and work with players. You're a golfer as well. Like, so how does just that whole, were you a golfer after college? Did you kind of dabble in it and then you got a little farther into it as you got into the training and the golf side of it and that piece of it? Like, how does your golf blend in? And then I'd love to talk about like getting to sit and watch instructors teach and how you bring that back with you into your work.
Yeah, I mean, I like to say I owned a set of clubs. Like I wasn't very good. And I also thought that it was me, not the clubs, right? And at some point in time, if your setup is so off, it could be the club. So I was a 210-pound linebacker trying to play with Reg Flex Ram clubs.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I legitimately
Shout
had
out Tom
no
Watson.
chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bendy. And I hit, the first time I bought, I got one lesson from my first teaching pro, who was actually got me into the TPI space. Suggested, he was like, hey, this is a good idea for you. Peter Holbert, who's now at Wellesley, he said that he was like, hey, I agree, your posture is good, your setup good, you're very athletic, but you don't have a chance with those clubs. I was like, it can't be the clubs. I went on a golf trip. I lost to some guys that in my eyes I was less athletic than, and that kicked me into, okay, I went down TPI, then I got TPI 1, 2, years later I finally got 3, lessons after lessons after lessons later, and I started at like a 30 handicap or something. Now I flirt somewhere between an 11 and an 8, depending on the week. Who knows? But yeah, I fell in love with it when I realized, obviously my football days and competitive days of some sort were behind me, but I'm not done competing at all, and so like running and doing, exercise workout things can only take me so hard. So I think I found that competitive niche more so right after college, right around the same time that I got into I fell in love with golf as I fell in love with training golfers, because it was so much more complicated than what I've been doing in the past. So I found that it was very stimulating mentally to coach golfers rather than just, like I said earlier, bench squat deadlift gets pretty boring. It's very easy to coach up someone to improve their bench press. It's almost takes pretty minor thought, and if you need to think more, somebody's already published 47 articles on it. So coaching a golfer who's concerned with, not getting injured, not being too sore, increasing their club head speed, and has a tournament tomorrow, I got to think. So I enjoyed that mental stimulation that I got out of that. And then it coincided at the same time of that apex of trying to beat the living hell out of my buddies while also trying to learn how to play golf and not be a meathead.
Yeah.
So it was a great timing. And then, fast forward, I didn't know the pandemic was coming and golf was going to explode again. So good timing there.
Yeah. So what, like year wise, is this you did you kind of start just before the pandemic? Was that when, as far as the golfing, or you've been in this for a while?
No. Yeah. So I graduated college in 2014.
Okay.
And I would probably say I started coaching. I've been coaching now for 13 years.
Right.
So of some sort, but I've been in the golf industry and TPI level 1 for about 8 years now.
Okay. Okay.
So,
So COVID
just
splits your
about
time
half of it.
almost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
COVID was like I had already gotten the Golf Digest top 50 before that happened. But the COVID was what really forced my hand to say, all right, I'm putting all my chips on the table on golf fitness rather than golf fitness and other stuff. Obviously, I coach other athletes and I coach other people that happen to know somebody who's a golfer and has just found my gym. I'm not turning anybody away who's a non-golfer, but I would say over 90% of our clientele is a golfer, married to a golfer, or knows a golfer.
Yeah. I had the pleasure of meeting your partner or coworker Tim
Yeah.
out at Gardner Muni like a couple weeks ago at a mid-am qualifier, and we got called off the course for lightning, and we got to chatting, and he was. I've seen pictures and stuff of your gym. I mean, it's like when you hear the word gym, you just think of there's weights there and maybe some kind of other. But you've got stuff set up for golfers to be able to
Yeah.
hit balls and chip a little bit, and like you've got this cool dedicated space that can, like you said, you don't need to be a golfer to go and go to your gym, but you've also got this kind of space where you're helping golfers definitely get better.
Yeah. We have a really lucky setup where we sublease from it's called the Practice Grounds. Practice Grounds is run by Chris Carpenter and Mackenzie Wells out of Neshota Country Club, and that's their year-round training facility. So if they have a clinic going on in their rain, boom, they're inside, and they're running it. And then all off season, Mackenzie's running clinics after clinics in there, and they've got a putting and chipping area. And then luckily for me, I use that space when they're not there in those off hours, and we've managed that through our awesome working relationship. And then when I do my evaluation, I have asked for permission that I let people hit balls, and I watch them hit, watch how they move, and then I walk them right into the weight room. So there's no like, oh, send me a video. Like, no, I can see you do it.
Yeah.
So we have definitely have. I always tell people, they're like, "What's yours?" I'm like, "Everything on the rubber is mine. Everything on the grass is theirs," and then we kind of split the difference in the middle. But yeah, they have a putting range, or sorry, they have a putting green with 6 holes. It runs at like an 11 or 12. So like, I'm terrible on slow greens now, thanks to that, because I just putt on that all day. If it's a slow green, I'm not going to have a good day because I'm used to having to baby, your 6-footers.
Yeah.
And then they have 2 TrackMan bays and then a group hitting section as well. And then we have our weight room is just a rack. We have 2 racks and dumbbells and kettlebells coming out of our ears, and bands, because we believe in more free movement. You won't find us prescribing any machine work.
Okay.
So yeah, space is king for us.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I've seen some pictures. It looks like a cool place, a cool space to get better at golf and get stronger, for sure.
Yeah, you can get lost in there and kind of just spend hours.
As you've had people come and see you, you've been doing this for 8 years. Like, what are some of the myths that you like find yourself trying to disprove from either new clients or even just stuff that people like? The internet's a wild place right now. It's super easy to go and find whatever truth you want.
Yeah, I'll move past the one that's like, people are like, oh, I don't want to get too bulky. Like, I'll move past that one because most people have done a better job of dispelling that for me. It's like, you're not going to get like, they're like, I don't want to look like a bodybuilder. Well, do you have 18 hours a week and plan on consuming that many calories and then any supplementation and potentially steroids? Well, then don't worry about it. You're working out 2 hours a week. You'll be fine. So I'll ease off that one.
That was a great that was a perfect little nugget.
It's not going to happen. Yeah, they're like, I don't want to get as big as so and so. Oh, you think if you just started lifting, you just
explode,
get as big as that guy who's been training for years? Yeah, it's not going to happen. Yeah, I would say that the biggest one, and I try not to. I try to find a different way to provide information rather than just beating a dead horse. But as far as when people ask me, is like, I don't want to mess with my golf. So I'm going to stop training in season. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have that happens. And then what we have is like when people do that, they'll notice that in August they're killing it. And then June, July, August, or they have a great beginning of the season, which doesn't really matter because our club championship in New England is usually, kind of, end of June, end of July into August. Like that's kind of when and then if you had stopped training for about 16 weeks from them, that's where you start to see detrimental losses of strength and power and mobility. And they're like, oh, I was playing great in the beginning of the season. And then at the end of the season, when all of the chips were on the table and it mattered the most, I was tired, less flexible, and I was hitting it shorter. What happened? What do you mean what happened? You stopped training.
Yeah.
Don't stop training. So that's my thing. And then for when people understand, in order to make them understand what don't stop training means, like from a gradual standpoint, or sorry, a more grand standpoint, is I don't want you to get weaker. I don't need you to get stronger through the season. I need you to hang on.
Yeah.
Right? It's a lot of golf, depending on how competitive you are. You guys are playing like mid-am stuff, like you're walking. It's a lot of, it's a lot of golf. You're playing. You might get whistled off because it's raining at Gardner Muni, and you have to get back out there and you got to warm up again.
Yep.
I'm going to have definitely an advantage if I'm in better shape than the person who is not, who got cold and ate 4 hot dogs and had 4 Coors Lights at the turn, and you're gonna win.
Yeah.
Or you have an advantage at least.
Yeah.
So I would say that the don't stop training thing, I always try to expand upon it whenever I get that question, so it's not just a blanket don't do it, because it seems like I don't want you to stop training. Well, like obviously I don't want to stop seeing my clients. It's a really good way to close a gym, but also I don't want you to lose all the good stuff that you did. So it's kind of a I always tell people my goal is to not get stronger in season, is to not get weaker.
Yeah.
Is a easier selling point for people to understand.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, I even have this experience where the time you're putting in the winter is in your, like, mentally you're thinking, this is the time that I would be playing golf when the weather's good. And then you start playing golf and the trade-off is I don't have enough time to even maintain because I'm maybe playing twice a week or I'm playing on the weekends when, like, that's the chunk of time where I would be focusing on my fitness.
Yeah.
And I'll just hope to maybe not get weaker.
Yeah.
And the older we get,
hope
the faster
is
that
a
happens.
Good, strategy.
It's right.
Yeah, I always tell people are like, oh, I don't have time. I'm like, how about 45 minutes twice a week? You got that? They're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah.
So we force we usually when I get the conversation and it's about to be golf season, hey Duff, I'm going to put my membership on hold. I'm like, all right, how about this? Try for 2 more weeks to work this in while you start playing golf. See how you feel. And 90% of the time people believe us and they stick with it. And also I'm writing a program knowing that you're playing golf. So it's different. It's very easy for me to program to make sure that, like, hey, where's your heaviest playing? Oh, it's on Monday? Okay, great. So on Tuesday is your heavy day. Or it's on Fridays your big money match? Okay, cool. I'll put your heavier stuff on Monday. You would need movement in before, and then nobody pays us to guess. So if somebody has their best, we have a fair amount of people who through this process have figured out that the days they work out are the day they play their best golf, or the day after is the day they play their best golf. But nobody's paying us to guess. So I'm like, when are your tournaments? Okay, we have this. Okay, let's try this workout, then go play. Tell me how you did. Okay, that was too much. You were too ramped up or too excited. Okay, we need to put a bigger buffer between your tee time when you play. Or are you the day before person? Is it a mobility session only? Are you doing like a full workout? Like, what is it? So some of our best players, who are doing some DP World Tour stuff right now, or Corn Ferry or LPGA, they work out day of hard and then go play. And then I've got, let's just say Johnny at the local course who's like, I can't work out on Monday. I have a big, $15 Nassau with my boys on Friday. And we got guys playing for their livelihood working out 15 minutes before they walk to the range. I don't know, man. They might be onto something. So yeah, we've converted plenty of people either through like kind words or peer pressure. However we get there, we'll get there.
What do you feel like has changed the most over the the person I think about with regards to you a lot is Morgan Smith. Just
Mm-hmm.
like I interviewed her 2 years ago and she was talking about gaining speed, and then that summer she wins everything she looks at. Now she's playing
Mm-hmm.
at Georgia. It feels like speed is obviously one of those, I don't know, quick and easy answers to this question, but is there anything else that you have seen in the last 8 years that has maybe changed between like how you train people and how you interact with instructors, or how instructors interact with you? Like what's changed in your mind?
Well, it's all about time. So like when we, you just mentioned Morgan. Morgan had she had a unique time frame in which she was trying to achieve these goals. So we definitely, were feathering the not pedal to the metal, but we were feathering it pretty hard
Yeah.
getting up to those seasons because we were looking at recruiting windows and tournament play. So like but she listens, she works hard, her dedication is crazy, and she's got the mind for it. So, you know, I did more of holding back than I did pushing for her. And then for people who tell me like, "Hey, I want to get speed, and I want to get bigger, faster, and stronger." I'm like, "Hey, I need you to eat more calories." Let's just talk about like some of the guys that I'm working with. I'm like, "I need you to put on weight," and they're like, "Oh, I don't want to eat more calories." Oh, wait, I mean, you don't want this. What you told me the club head speed you wanted. I told you I'll give you this program, but you need to increase your calories so you can handle that speed and put on more mass so you don't get hurt. Okay, I don't want to do that. Okay, so then we need to move this goal because this it's just going to become way harder to do. I have this one of my favorite clients. His name's Peter. He came in and said, "I want 130 club head speed." I said, "You're nuts." And he said, I was like, "Dude, first of all, I don't think we need it." And this was like his, top end swinging out of his shoes. He was
Yeah.
like, "I'm not going to play at 130. I want to be able to see a 130." I was like, "Okay, here's the deal. I'm going to need you to work out 3 times a week, and I need you to eat like your job depends on it."
The
And
Bryson
I was
plan.
like, "All right, one of those things isn't going to happen." Right? I was betting. I was like, "We'll get like 122. The guy will be hitting bombs. He'll be happy." Both of them happened, and he got 130, and he got to like 192 pounds. I was like, "Let's go." And now he's like, he followed that goal, got to the mountain, and now this is the season where he's just not getting weaker. And he's not 192 pounds anymore. He doesn't have 130-mile-an-hour club head speed when he goes for it. He still does our we call it our maintenance speed program, but he's got it if he calls on it. He's hitting it incredibly long. And we did need to upgrade all of his iron shafts. Um, Sorry,
Helping
Pete.
out the OEMs.
Yeah, he was like, "Why aren't I hitting it as straight?" I was like, "Dude, you're faster.
Yeah. That's
We
how this
have the
works.
wrong shaft most likely." Um, I get to play with him on Monday. He hits bombs. It's fine. But yeah, there's usually is like when we're open and honest about communication is like, and then I'll talk to their swing coach, be like, "Hey, this kid says he wants to go D1, um, wants to do this, says he's chipping, putting, and doing all the things. Is that true?" And they're like, "Yes or no." And then I'm going to give them the program that's going to feed their goals anyway. And then it's time to be like, "Am I big brother? Am I your coach? Am I a mentor? Like, what do you need from me on the life perspective to be like, man, you need to get your grades in order. I know you want to chip and putt but like, where can I add a little bit of pressure to see like what's going to actually help them achieve their goal?" Because it's being a coach rather than just I preferred being called coach rather than just a trainer.
Yeah.
And coach, I find comes with a little bit more pressure. So I welcome the pressure, but I want to see if I can lead them to where they want to go. But I'm very picky about when people tell me their goals. I'm like, no, don't give me exits in this goal. Let's stick to it. So if your goal is to play in the mid am and you need to get your handicap down, like, are we working on our short game?
Mm.
To use Tim as an example, like the kid's been grinding all year and, made the qualifications to get into the mid M, and he's doing them.
Yeah. Where do you stand on someone just going online and buying like a speed training uh system?
So even the speed training systems themselves, like for example, Speed Stick, will also offer you fitness. And if you talk to any of them, Stacked, what Stacked, Speed Stick, you name it,
Yep.
they will all say, I've sat with them and had dinner with these guys. They will all say we prefer when our clients are doing strength conditioning and adding our implement along to it because it's so much more effective when you have a good strength conditioning program around it. When you do speed training and you do not add fitness, I find that you can still have some results. However, your risk reward ratio for injury, or let's just say technique breakdown, get too steep for me.
Yeah.
When we do it, it was like I don't advocate against it. I just don't prioritize it until we're like really close to the spring. You should be getting stronger and faster regardless before I put a club in your hand. And then let's just say like, your higher level players and your moderate level players, we're going to kind of give different information based on needs. If somebody already comes in and they have high club head speed and they've got other postural needs, they'll be like, I want to work on club head speed. I'll be like, sure. And then we work on their postural needs and everything else balances out anyway.
Yeah.
It's, it's wants and needs. And if you want club head speed, you're still going to get it by training. But if I prioritize it and you've got, let's just say, lead ankle stability problems, I've just made your problem worse. And that's not what you're paying me to do. So if you say, hey, I really want to, and like, this doesn't really happen anymore. Let's say somebody's fighting me like, hey, I want to go do stack training every single day. And they have done zero left ankle mobility and strengthening exercises. Eventually I'll have to say no, and give some pushback. But luckily, doing the simple things savagely well, which is the slogan at our gym, has worked out quite well so far. So people are bought in, and I don't have as many uncomfortable conversations of convincing people to trust us anymore as the young meathead coach once did back in the day. But honestly, if I saw that guy's training, I might have questioned him too. Not to say that we're not always learning, and it's really helpful to have, Doc Tim, as I like to call him. I like to run things by him all the time, and I talk to a bunch of swing coaches while I'm implementing new information, constantly reaching out for new leads and new tidbits. But we're always learning, but definitely love the process and love the results that we're getting out of our people right now.
How much of your work is in person? You mentioned you've got people. DP World Tour right now is in Switzerland. Like how much? So how do you have clients who are solely remote that you work with, or yes? Okay, so you kind of you have both.
Yeah, we have both. My favorite is the people that can come do check-ins, just because I can make the best program in the world and write it up and write you an essay and explain it and record a video. But like every once in a while, I'm like, hey, that doesn't look right. I do enjoy seeing them. I don't do a ton of Zooms anymore. You can blame COVID for that. I'm kind of zoomed out. I will do check-ins. Like I have, if someone's like, hey, Duff, I don't have time to get in for you. Can you do a Zoom? And I look at Monday's my admin day. So I plug a bunch of Zooms in on Monday. But we have probably like 20 online clients. We try to make it a pretty affordable option. It's $160 for the month. And we program 2 to 3 workouts a week and plug and play and edit their program as they see fit. But my favorite version of that is the person who does the workouts online and then comes in for like a monthly checkup or a bi-monthly checkup, so I can just see how they move. And, also it helps me connect to like, oh, like this program should be a little bit harder for them, or, you know, I should shorten the end of it because they never get time with their, they never get time to finish because their daughter always wakes up, or something like that. So it's like, it's helpful to put the human connection behind the program and the Excel sheet. But yeah, I mean, I have people online that I've never met in person.
Oh, wow. Okay. You've got
Yeah.
those folks too. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean it is cool, and I'm happy to help them. And they just send me a picture of a trophy, and I'm like, yay! And I've never met them, and I'm obviously excited for them. I'm like, wow, I helped this guy who had low back pain and get back to the club championship, and he won this year. Like, cool. I'll take a little bit of credit there. Awesome. But yeah, I never met him. So
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I've like a couple dudes in Canada, a couple in like Wisconsin. I had a guy in India for a while, and he would take Zoom calls, but then the time change would be so crazy, be like 3 a.m. there. He'd be like, "What's up, coach?" I was like, "Dude, isn't it 3?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna stay up." I'm like, "Okay, that's don't work out tomorrow."
Do you do any, like you just mentioned, sleep and rest? Do you, like, how does that, do you help with that? Is that in diet and that side of things too? So you are, like, you said you're a coach, which obviously opens up the door for you to do more than just somebody who feels like they're seeing a trainer. So if you give the whole
Yeah.
package.
Yeah, so as far as nutrition goes, obviously I stay within my scope. So we have people that we use for resources when someone's got real dietary needs and suggestions. But if someone brings me in their chart and I take a look at what they're eating, I can definitely be like, hey man, this is, going to help you hit your goal. I'm unsure about some of these things on here, or, oh my God, what are we doing? No one's going to get mad at me from a broad scope information standpoint there. And then as far as like nutrition on the course and nutrition that you should be doing pre-round and post-round, I have consulted who I consider to be experts in the field before I give that information. And so I worked at Exos Performance in Gulf Breeze, Florida for quite some time. So I use one of their nutrition experts as a resource. And then Robert Yang, who's on the director of the Titleist board, I use his book Hole in One Nutrition. But then for our everyday folks who want, check-in basis and stuff, we have a nutrition resource that we use to refer out, but called Apex. But we definitely are within our knowledge base to take a look at what somebody's eating and tell them this is helping or this is not helping.
I've noticed over the last couple of years, just like eating on the golf course is it's so much more important than the younger version of Sean ever really considered. And maybe it's just because I'm getting older, but like, if I'm eating before I get to the 14th hole, the last 5 holes feel so much better than they do if I'm just like, I'm fine, or I forgot to pack stuff in my bag or whatever. It's like, what are some little bits of advice you would give people? Is it just eat? Is it certain things that can crush people? Not to give away any industry secrets that you might want to keep, but
I'll give away the secrets. They're not secrets anymore. I mean, you just read somebody who has I always tell people, don't just take your nutrition information off of Instagram or whatever. Like, check for RN or RD. Those are
important
registered
letters.
dietitian, registered nutritionist. Those are the important ones. Read those articles, please. Not like, I had an eating disorder and now I'm into food. Like, that doesn't qualify you. I mean, you look good, thank you, but I'm glad you're healthy, but that doesn't qualify you as a food expert. But I have my players eat every 4 to 6 holes. That's our suggestion. And then I generally tell people not to get too spiked. So we're avoiding, like, the high amount of sugar at any endpoint. So, like, we're not on the 9th hole, like a red Gatorade with a Twix bar will have you buzzing on 10 and 11, and then the crash is coming somewhere. Like your blood sugar is going to go down again. So we're avoiding that. We generally want all of your water to have an electrolyte component to it, especially in the heat. Even if it's cooler, you are getting dehydrated while you play, so we like to have electrolytes in there. Um, we kind of um, we kind of stay away from like the pre-bottled ones. We've found a little bit more success with like an electrolyte mixture packet.
Yeah.
There's so many out there
Yep.
in the world. Tim loves his element stuff. I have been using like I used liquid IV for a while, but that's just kind of because it's super accessible. But I use Noon tabs, elements, whatever I can get my hands on, as long as you read the back and it's not just sugar packet. Add that to your water as you play. But yeah, every 6 holes is when we tell people to eat. And then more so if you find that you play better on a fuller stomach, eat more.
Yeah.
Eat it. You can, grab a full chicken wrap and walk down the 9th and 10th fairway and finish it.
Yeah.
Not, not uncommon.
Yeah. Last thing before I let you go, you've been generous with your time here. Just any, like we said, it's fall, but as we head into the winter season, do you have any like simple exercises or stretches, like one or two things that you would kind of send listeners or viewers kind of away with to do, or like even like something that's just a specific part of the body that you see a lot of your early clients struggling with that they could kind of build up?
Yeah, I would say that invest in early. So, like, if you want to start working on your goals for next golf season, I would say start earlier. Like, start right now. There's no real reason to be like, oh, I'm done playing golf. It's like you don't have any competitive rounds coming up. It's okay for you to have some soreness. Do invest in yourself now. But I would say that a lot of times people do what we say is like avoidance. It's kind of how we put it, is like if I have a sore low back, I will avoid deadlifts, for example. Whereas like that pattern needs to be strengthened. So you can start in a deadlift pattern with just a band. We're not going to cause any more damage, right? As long as we, have the correct form, we're not going to cause any more damage. And I can start my progressive overload to learn and teach those muscles to work with you, rather than like my glutes don't work anymore and my low back starts to fire up. So oftentimes I'm teaching people how to deadlift and slowly teaching them how to load it. Like everybody in my gym will know, like if they see somebody with a band around their belt and a plate on their chest, that person is learning to deadlift because they did that at some point in time with me. So it's not exactly a stretch, I would say. It's like learn how to do a proper RDL, Romanian deadlift, or just a traditional deadlift from the floor, and slowly progressive overload and add load to it. Not to the point where like I need you pulling 400 off the floor, but if someone can pull 400 off the floor, I bet you they have a strong back and they've built up the tolerance to do it. Like our big hitters are not pulling 35 pounds off the ground and saying this is a good deadlift for me. Like if you're a 185-pound man or a stronger woman, like 35 pounds is not going to create enough stimulus for you to get a stronger glute. Like use your bum to do more than sit on it, please.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like early extension is all from that
Yeah.
exact movement, because
Yeah,
if you
I'd
can't,
like to
your
avoid early
body's,
extension and sore low backs.
yeah, for sure. And this, you're right. Like this part of the season, if you've been playing a ton of golf this year, you know exactly what parts of your body hurt. This is a really good time to start to kind of strengthen those areas now versus waiting until January. Last year I had golfer's elbow. I haven't had it this year, but I like kind of spent last fall, like you kind of said, like loading it and found some exercises to do where I wasn't just resting it. I didn't play a ton of golf, but when I wasn't playing golf, I was just trying to like, how can I get this better so that next year I don't hit September and have golfer's elbow again because I played a bunch of golf.
Yeah.
And I've been
Yeah.
fine. It's like this is a good time for people to take stock of how do you feel, what hurts, what doesn't hurt, what was good in your game, and then get working on it.
Yeah, I always tell my people, like, I do a check-in. It's like one of our guys has got quite the schedule of playing, and every time he comes in, he's like, I played this many holes, I did this, and then he walks right into the weight room and he's like, I'm sore, I'm tired, and I know I need this because it's the reason that I haven't been hurting. And he goes, his current saying is front squats really suck, but I also like hitting bombs. He's like, those front squats suck, but you see that drive?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know why I think that's his thing. I think that's his least favorite exercise, like double racked front squats. He's like, these suck.
They do suck.
Like, I don't disagree, man. I don't disagree with you. But yeah, he's not sore. He walks all the courses that he plays. It's kind of like his thing. And, multiple days in a row, if his legs are less beat up than his buddies, then he's in a good place. But a lot of times he'll do our mobility and our warm-up session over prioritizing hitting balls, because he's discovered that is more beneficial for him than going to the range. And yeah, I think it's a lot of misconceptions about what to do and how to do it. It's like, just don't guess. You should be working on it now. Like, you should be doing a workout and then going to play in an hour and see how it helps you, or doing your mobility. And like, there's no reason to guess at this point in time. Like, we try to make our just to go back to kind of the conversation we had about like being in the teaching rooms of some of the higher players in the world. It's like, nobody at that level is guessing. Like, they know that this food makes me feel this well. I hit this many balls, and I worked out 45 minutes before I walked out there. I like to do my putting first to calm myself down or simulate some stress while I'm putting, and then I go hit balls. And there's no reason at this point in time, with like the access that we have and the knowledge that we have, whereas if somebody's playing on Saturday, they have a 10 o'clock tee time, they've got a couple $100 on the line with their buddies. Like, let's not just roll up, wiggle the big stick, and go play. Like, let's go find out a plan to execute, win, and most importantly, take your friend's money.
Yeah. Do you value having, like, I've seen people have, like, if you get to the course 45 minutes early, here's the way to do it. But maybe you get to the course 15 minutes early, like almost just having like a couple different ways of getting loose, whether it's slowly eliminating stuff from the longer one or shortening stuff up. But that's another piece that I've even seen just playing golf with my buddies. And
I keep I have all my clients have 2 bands in their bag that they can do a dynamic warm-up on the tee box. We call it our tee box warm-up. There's different versions. I've taken kind of my own version of the tee box warm-up, and I combined it with Jason Glass, who works with Adam Hadwin, and recently some other higher level players. I think I just saw Max Holman is teaching Bay recently. I took some of his tee box warm up stuff and I added some of my own, and I put it on a YouTube video and I send it to all my clients. So if you see somebody stretching an orange band or working with a green looped band around their knee, that's
tough.
They're probably an RPS client.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Kevin, thanks for joining us. Let us where can people find you on the internet, and if they have heard enough from you and want to know more, how can they find you?
Yeah, so our website is trainrps.com, and then my personal Instagram is Coach Kevin Duffy on Instagram.
It's a great
follow. Yeah, I try. I've been speaking of golfer's elbow, I got a 2-year-old now, and he's pretty chunky. I was like, I've never had golfer's elbow in my life. I got like Patrick elbow, I think. But yeah, I haven't been as busy on it lately because I moved and I got a 2-year-old, but I'm gonna get back on it. And then our gym is located in Acton, and it's Rotational Power Strength on Instagram. But the website trainrps.com is kind of best way to find us.
Cool.
Me and Tim will be found there.
Yeah. Well, I would encourage people to go check it out, and if you're in the Acton area, or the cool part is if you're not, you can do it online, which is great. So Kevin, thanks for joining us. Enjoy your fall, and we'll be in touch.
All right, Sean, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.